I'm Mike Huckman at the BioBuzz Center, and it's a pleasure to welcome Angèle Maki, who is Associate Director of Business Development at Genentech, to the BioBuzz Center. Thanks for being here, Angèle.
Thanks, Michael.
So tell us about all of the business development team that Genentech has brought here.
Sure.
And how big the partnering component has become at a place like Bio.
Sure. So partnering for us at Bio is super important. We've brought 15 people here over the last few days, and we've each had about 10 meetings. I've actually had about 20 meetings. And it's given us the opportunity to meet lots of new companies, connect with companies we've already been talking to. So for us, that's the main focus.
And Angèle, how do you guys divide and conquer? Do you break it up into therapeutic areas? What do you do?
Sure. So we each have focus areas, either therapeutic or I focus on tools and technologies. And we each focus on companies that are within that area of focus. So that allows us to have the maximum coverage.
Now, when you say tools and technologies, please explain that.
Sure. Yeah, I realize that's sort of a vague term. Tools and technologies are technologies or tools or platforms that can help us do R&D. So anything that'll accelerate either target discovery or drug discovery or even drug development.
So are you talking about molecular diagnostics, for example?
That could be one application. So we're very interested in biomarkers and diagnostics. We're interested in antibody engineering platforms. We're interested in human genetics, imaging agents. There's a lot of different things that I'm interested in learning about.
And why is that? What does it ladder up to? How does it help in both the discovery, the research, and then the clinical development process?
If it's a platform that would help, it could be a platform that would help us generate chemical matter, so the actual drug candidate against a target of interest. It could be a technology that would help us identify a target to start with. If it's an imaging agent or a biomarker, it helps us identify the right patients or whether they're responding to our therapeutic. So when you start to think about it that way, the amounts and the breadth of tools and technologies is huge.
So Angèle, does it make the process then potentially more efficient and quicker and more precise?
Absolutely, yes. Hopefully it'll make the process faster. Or maybe it makes it possible. It might be that we can't drug a certain target, find the right patients to run our trials. And so one of the holy grails is to treat the patients that are most likely going to respond and being able to monitor them and maybe find endpoints that are quicker so that we can get the drug on the market faster. So there's lots of different opportunities that these things can provide.
People in the sector and people in business in general think of business development as being obviously very transactional to begin with and all about money. But you are a scientist by education and by training.
Yes.
So why are you in business development?
So I'm very passionate about the science, but I did not enjoy being in a lab and doing the science. And that might be sort of heretical to some people, but I enjoyed it at a much higher level. Scientific work in the lab is very solitary. And
it's tedious.
It's very tedious. So what people don't realize going into this is that experiments often don't work, and you're troubleshooting the experiments. So it's not like you're just getting new data all the time. You're trying to make your experiment work to even generate the data.
And this goes on for months and years.
Totally,
sometimes.
yeah. And you get no papers, and it's very, very. It requires a certain phenotype. But in business development, I get to satisfy my intellectual curiosity by learning about all these different sciences and technologies. I get to interact with lots of people, both internally and externally, so it satisfies me, who's a little bit more extroverted than probably your typical scientist. And then also, our work has a lot of meaning, at least it does for me. I get to go to work at a company that's making therapeutics that make a difference in people's lives. And they're serious medicines. In fact, I hope that my friends and family don't know our medicines because they're for things like oncology and autoimmune disease. But for me, it's very meaningful work too, in addition to being intellectually stimulating.
So you don't look at it then as a transaction, that I'm working on a transaction, you're working on something bigger.
I'm enabling research or development at my company. So although my contribution is perhaps at the very early stages of the process, I'm still making a contribution to developing a new medicine.
That's awesome. Angèle, we're ending every interview at the Buzz Center this year focusing on the theme of bio, which is, it's one word, and it's just imagine. So Angèle, imagine what?
I would love to imagine a day, and I think it's probably not in the too distant future, where everyone has their whole genome sequenced, and you figure out what's wrong with that person, and hopefully there's a therapeutic that could cure them or prevent their disease. I remember when I was young watching the movie Gattaca, and of course that took it to sort of
Science
a
fiction,
negative place where
Negative
people were,
utopia.
yes, where people were sequenced and they were put on sort of a bad track if they had a serious disease. But I have a more positive view, and I hope that we'll get sequenced and alter the course of people's lives. But I just remember being really impacted by that movie, and I think that could happen in my lifetime.
Great. Angèle Maki, the Associate Director of Business Development at Genentech. Thanks for joining us here at the Bio Bus Center.